So when it comes to this, of course, a lot of it falls on the educator's responsibility to start with the right intention, right? So if I may elaborate a bit, one thing I always like to do when I go to a class is I like to find out the students' names first and foremost. So I make sure I don't butcher their names. Okay, so even teaching young kids, right? A lot of them, they'll get very angry if you butcher their name from the start. So I always make sure I come in and say, okay, hi, what's your name? How do I pronounce it well? And then when I do that correctly, it already builds a lot of trust and rapport, right? Then I follow up by asking what do they like to do, what makes them tick, and then you kind of like follow the energy. So that way, you don't really have to speak so much about mental well-being already. It's already embedded in the actions that you kickstart when interacting with the student. Yeah. And then of course, finally, I make the intention clear that my goal here is to empower them. So whatever I say, I hope that they will not take it wrongly, that I'm trying to insult their taste, their looks, their preferences. No, I make it very clear. My goal is to empower them, and I would appreciate it if they could respect and respond in kind as well.
I really appreciate that you bring up the idea of student names, because so often teachers just butcher student names. And I think names are so important, right? Like they're the essence of who we are. So, because I do exactly that same thing. And then additionally, I like to ask them, like, what's your preferred name, right? Like, because some kids, if even just something as simple as like a Thomas, do you prefer Thomas? Do you prefer Tom? Do you prefer Tommy? Do you go by something else, like a middle name? Because a lot of people just go by a middle name just to differentiate themselves, right? So I just love that that's a part of what you brought up in building trust with kids is actually like knowing who they are and then following that up with the ways that they tick. So that's really wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Can you tell us, you just kind of started tapping into a little bit of these strategies, but what are some other practical strategies that educators can implement in order to promote student